Welcome back to New Sounds Union. This is the podcast for people who love new music, make new music, and want to support new music. In this month's episode, we are speaking to the cinematic folk pop group Entropies, discussing their debut EP, as well as the documentaries that Sheida from the group has directed and that the band have scored and recorded the soundtracks for. The four-piece have had a year to remember with sold-out headline gigs, numerous appearances with So Far Sounds, and the aforementioned EP. So, before we chat, let's listen to their recent single, Outcast.
I'll be gone now. Hear my prayers in the night.
Sheida and Sophie, welcome to New Sounds Union.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It is my pleasure. So we've just heard a little snippet of The Beautiful Outcast, which is from your debut EP, which actually when this podcast will be live, I think your EP will also be in the world live. So yeah, big congratulations on that, first of all. And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how the project kind of came about and developed? Because it's kind of an extension of your debut documentary. Is that right, Sheida?
Yeah. So in around 2018, I went camping to the Black Sea coast of Turkey because I'm from Turkey and I was born on the Black Sea coast. And I met a group of tea-picking women, and I was immediately in awe of sort of their dedication to their land and their labor and the kind of countless hours of work that went into it. But then I found out that all of the men owned the land, and essentially the women were doing all of the work, but all of the kind of financial gains and the fruits of their labor was going directly to the men of the family, and that across generations kind of land would be inherited by men. So the young boys in the family would inherit them. And so I ended up speaking to a lot of researchers and trying to understand and paint a portrait of different generations of female tea pickers and what was happening. So the younger generation were kind of fed up and they wanted to leave. And so one of my characters was called Zeynep, who actually was doing research into why this was happening and why, like, across generations, men were continuously the ones that had land ownership. And then the middle generation who were sort of trying to find a solution, but still frustrated at this growing private sector because they also couldn't make as much money as they used to because the government was putting private quotas on. Basically, the amount they could sell was being restricted. And then the older generation were very sad that this was all happening, and they wanted to make sure everyone stayed, so the legacy of the land kind of transcended across generations in spite of the money. So I ended up spending a month in the region during my master's and kind of documenting how this issue impacted different women. And in the process of doing so, I always like to think through music for characters. Like, it's just always been something that whenever I'm going to shoot, I'll kind of like have voice notes or kind of how the story came about. And across that month, I shot the film. And as I said, I kind of always think about characters for music, and that's a big part of the creative process for me as a documentary filmmaker. And then when I came back, I kind of had some main themes down, and I kind of knew what the instrumental pieces would be. And so I actually recorded the instrumental pieces with software instruments for the film that then went on into the BBC version. And then we were talking with Entropies, and we were like, okay, why don't we try and turn these instrumental pieces into songs, and each song tells the story of one of the characters in the film. So Outcast, for example, is about Zeynep, who's the young girl who decided to leave, and she decided to go to the city, and that's why. So I left for the city. Well, actually, no, that's the same blood. But an Outcast, it's kind of about that feeling of being an outcast to the norms and to the way you've been brought up, and that kind of urge you have to break free of it. And likewise with the same blood, it's about the kind of urge to stay and to kind of nurture your community. So yeah, that's kind of how we started the writing process, which was taking these characters and kind of thinking of their stories through lyrics and through music. And then Soph, I guess that's when we kind of started. I mean, our writing process is a little bit chaotic in the sense that I will just start playing something on the piano and then the girls will just like add the magic. I don't know if you remember any of it. It feels like ages ago now. So
yeah, it was a little while ago, and we actually made it as a live set first, and then we developed it as an EP later. So the live gigs setup of the Harvest, the live performance, came first, and we made that into like one big show that was non-stop. We transitioned between instrumental pieces and lyrical pieces, and then we kind of adapted it into actually a recorded version, which was a really nice process. And I guess one of the other really nice things was being able to incorporate the Foley and the field recordings that Sheida had taken out there and were in the documentary. So you hear kind of sounds from the machinery that the women are using, and also samples of them kind of singing their traditional folk songs, I guess, Sheida. And it was really like lovely to be able to put that into both the main lyrical songs and also the instrumentals.
oh yeah, absolutely. And big kind of credits there to Ari, who's our producer, who worked with us on the project. And the creative process actually was quite interesting, because we had the songs, and as Soph said, we kind of did a performance called The Harvest in 2022. And then we decided to go into the studio and rework the songs. And we were lucky because Strong Room Studios at the time, Ari was working there, so we would go during downtime, and kind of any like moments that Ari was not working and the studio was empty, with like 24 hours notice, we just run to the studio and be like, okay, let's work on this part of the song. And I think that gave a lot of creative freedom. In a way, we were very lucky that we got to kind of experiment in the studio throughout the process. Very fortunate.
Yeah, definitely. And a good setup, because I suppose a lot of people do record from home nowadays, but is that slightly trickier just because of the nature of your kind of orchestral sound at times?
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but like actually we do a lot in Sheida's bedroom with that pair of headphones that she's wearing right now.
the microphone behind me. Yeah.
Nice. Where the magic happens. So yeah, how tricky is it? Because obviously some of the original instrumentals for the documentary are probably quite long and expansive, and then you're kind of trimming those down, but also develop them into more, I suppose, traditional songs as well. Is that just a process that, you know, you kind of have to chip away at?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I think actually with documentaries, because there's this, which is so unfortunate because I love film music, but with documentaries, you kind of have to be as sparse as possible. So you're not interpreting the story too much. You're not telling the audience what to think. So throughout the film, there is music, but they're quite short pieces. And actually a lot of those pieces ended up being the transition pieces that you'll hear in the EP, which are like the instrumental pieces that transition from song to song. And then we took some of those bigger themes, and there'll be like a string part in the chorus, or there'll be a vocal line in the verse. But there's definitely a lot of new stuff that we've built around those core themes. So it was actually extending those themes and trying to make them into like a bigger piece. Yeah, it'd be interesting to go back to for the parts and then to cross-reference it with the original tracks of the documentary.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose you said you've played these tracks in various forms live as well, and that can often help to shape and maybe see what's working and what you might want to record.
We were really lucky to work with Lisa van der Missen, who's a harpist who we met in a gig. We were both by chance playing in the same gig, and then that night we asked if she wanted to play together on the same night, and we played together one song, and she joined us on one of our songs, and then that kind of started like a collaboration with her where she was really happy to give writing parts a go. So you hear her on The Same Blood and also the Prelude piece as well. There's a few pieces that she's in, so it's really nice to work with her on that.
Yeah, always good to have a harpist up your sleeve. Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then from the creative side to the more, I suppose you've touched on recording at Strong Room, so the practical side of getting the music made. Did you receive support from Help Musicians and the Bert Jansch Foundation? So yeah, how did those come about?
We have applied to quite a few Help Musicians grants, so we were really, really happy when this one came through, and really it wouldn't have been possible without it. As you know how much recording an EP can cost, and it was really nice because we relied so much on many people for their time for free, and to be able to like pay people properly, and that was really, really good. And so yeah, we had the Help Musicians grant and also the Bert Jansch grant, and they were both done through online applications. So yeah, we put in some time writing it across different parts of the world and on buses and stuff, and sending it to each other. But yeah,
paid off, because I suppose, well, as you know, there's not much music, not much money in modern music.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of artists will be in a similar boat. So yeah, I suppose get applying. It might take a bit of time, and I presume it's quite a lot of forms to fill in or online boxes, but yeah, worth it in the end.
It's funny. I think the more you do it, I think Sophie and I were saying, like, you're like kind of on just autopilot. Okay, now I know exactly what I need to say. And I think after a few forms, we definitely were well rehearsed. But yeah, so grateful for those two foundations for supporting us. It was, we're very grateful.
And they get really nice mentorship as well. Like they have business mentors as well, and they really helped us structure like the EP release and just how to think about marketing and stuff.
Yeah, a whole world. But I suppose putting it down on paper is probably quite a good way of forming or kind of refining exactly what you want the EP to be, and then making people think about the stuff, like actually putting it in people's ears and marketing and all of that. So yeah, no, that's great. Well, there you go. Recommendation there for anyone looking for funding. So let's hear another track from the EP. This is The Same Blood. So before we play it, is there anything particular you'd like to say about the background of this track?
Yeah, The Same Blood is an interesting one because it's actually the third piece of the EP was the one we struggled with the most, and there was actually 2 other songs before The Same Blood. So The Same Blood was the last song that was actually written for the EP, and I think it was because her character, who the song was based on, she captures so much emotions. She's very sassy, very angry, but also is very emotional and kind of cares a lot about the region and the cause. And I think the previous song we had kind of felt a bit too mellow, and we wanted to kind of capture that sass a bit more. And I always remember putting Portishead as like the reference for the track, because I really wanted that kind of trip hop feeling beat and kind of a bit more poetry to them. So the song, and we actually even have a version with spoken words, which we will release when we release the full EP. But it's kind of one that we wanted to have a bit more of a playful feeling to, compared to the other songs that feel maybe a bit more neoclassical in a way. And then there's also, there was an idea that I think Sophie, you had about the boys' choir at the end, which ended up just being me singing backwards in Turkish.
Yeah, so it was one of the first, so it's one of the few songs one of the songs on the album, on the EP, which features Turkish. So that was really nice. to incorporate that. And initially I had this idea that we would get this children's choir and we would get them all to count in Turkish. Unfortunately, we didn't wanted to wrap up the EP, so we decided Sheida could do it. So that's what you hear at the end of the piece.
Yeah, easier than, getting a whole children's choir together.
Yeah. And I think it kind of came from usually the women like kind of count when they're going upwards, or they'll sing, and it usually happens like very early in the morning or on their way back. And it's kind of like I always imagine just like a group of women marching up the mountain, kind of counting. But yeah.
Well, yeah, let's give it a spin. Here's a little snippet of The Same Blood. Lovely. So you've got an EP launch coming up later in November at Cambridge Junction, which is very exciting. And you've kind of built this, understandably, as kind of an audio visual performance, kind of blending the music with kind of visuals from the documentary. So yeah, I suppose, tell us a bit more about what we can expect from there and how you put together a show like that, because it's more complex than just rocking up and going on stage.
Yeah, totally. Well, so Soph's actually the person who's organized the more logistical sides of this and kind of is a big fan of Cambridge Junction. So I'll let her talk about how the gig was set. But in terms of how we'll prepare the visuals and the music, so because as I said, every song is based off a character, the idea will be to take visuals from the film of those characters and have them play in the transition pieces between songs. So we'll kind of have the first character's visuals and then the character's song. So kind of curate the show in chronological order with the film. So without seeing the whole film, hopefully we'll be able to get a sense of the story through the lyrics and through the kind of interweaving parts of the film's visuals. And yeah, I think we've done this once before with my second documentary actually, but this will be the first time we'll kind of do it with a full set, with a full EP that has already been released, and quite a lot of thought has gone into how the songs transition in and out, and it kind of is a non-stop performance. So every song kind of transitions into the next, and yeah, I think our first rehearsal's on Saturday. We'll see how that goes, but
Saturday a month ago, if you're listening in real time.
Oh yes, Saturday a month ago, indeed. Yeah. But so if you know the space quite well, so
yeah, I really, really like the Cambridge Junction. I live in Cambridge, and the rest of the girls live in London, so I meet them in London. But yeah, I have been there a lot for folk gigs. I really, really like a lot of folk bands, and it was just like kind of a dream to play there. And last year we played at a smaller venue in Cambridge, and we were like, can we do it? Like, can we do this Junction gig? And it's a little bit bigger, but just such a dream to be able to play like in a venue, which means a lot to me. So yeah. And I guess before we have done like audiovisual concerts, we've like played Sheida's film first, and then we would like put the projector down and then play the music. So like the most recent show was the first time we did together the visuals and the audio together. So expanding on that and like developing that as a like medium has been really, really fun, and like is a really fun like creative exercise to think about how you present it and try and tell a story without people already knowing it.
totally, yeah. There's something so special about how live sound works with visuals, and And I think I'm really excited about this genre kind of booming at the moment. I actually saw Agnes Obel Monday night at the Royal Albert Hall, where she also did this kind of audio-visual show. I guess less narrative, but, you know, this focus on really seeing stories while also hearing them and how they connect. So I think that kind of experimentation for us has been really exciting.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be, amazing and really immersive for the audience. Lovely. And then you've also played a few Sofa sounds kind of across the last couple of years, which are, kind of super well respected and quite coveted slots. I mean, would you have any tips for fellow musicians who might, want to get a slot themselves?
Ooh, good question. Well, it's funny because we applied with a video of us performing. The day that we filmed that video I had been performing a few gigs on my own, and we'd like decided that we were going to play together with Emmy, our cellist, and Soph. And on the train, we were brainstorming on what we should call ourselves. And at the time, there was between Entropy and Multigrain, and I'm really happy we didn't go with Multigrain.
Multigrain,
no idea why
like
that
Cheerios.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Maybe that would have worked quite well with the Harvest now, thinking about it. But and so it was, anyway, this is me saying that it was our first gig and we'd performed the cover of Roads by Portishead, again, big fan. And we submitted it to Sofa because we were kind of looking for an opportunity where we could perform in a space where people would sit and listen, because it was always either like a 6-person audience where it's just our family, or a really loud pub. And we were trying to find an in-between. And we didn't hear for months actually after, because it's so competitive and so many people were applying at the time. And then when we got it just felt like the perfect fit, because I think we also worked well for Sofa because they were looking for artists that were kind of cross-genre and doing something a bit different. But also could play unplugged, which is sometimes required because they do such different, like have different venues that they host in. I think it's just really apply with a video that you think would work well in lots of different spaces. I think Sofa really looks at that. They're like, can they perform with a PA that has 2 plugins versus 4 or like 10 rather than 4? And genre-wise, I think they're definitely not singer-songwriter as much, but like, looking for a bit of a groove or a bit of R&B or a bit of a classical twist or something that kind of brings something new to the table. I don't know, Soph, if you agree with that.
Yeah,
but
I think if you've been to a Sofa show, like it ebbs between, well, you have 3 acts, so you have 3 very contrasting acts. So probably most people will fit into one of those 3 genres. So I think just being confident in the genre you are, whatever that is, because we knew we weren't really, really poppy or something like that. So, but actually that's really worked in our favor, because we've filled a slot in the night that provides like the kind of neoclassical cinematic kind of bit, which is very different to like a neo soul thing.
Yeah, definitely. But I suppose that's what makes them quite compelling nights to go to as well, because you are going to hear a bit of a mix. And then were you also part of the 24-hour piano-a-thon? So that was Channel 4 and Sofa Sounds. So yeah, I suppose what exactly was that? And then what did you do as part of that? Yeah,
so we've been like really, really fortunate with Sofa to have so many opportunities like this, and we are so grateful for them, because that's also how we've met our producers that helped us make our singles and now our EP with Ari. And all sorts of opportunities came up. We played at Madame Tussauds one time, so that was another one that was just crazy. And we got like the email 2 days before, and then it was like, drop everything, we're going to Madame Tussauds. But anyway, the 24-hour.
Yeah, which waxworks were around you, if any?
Little Mix.
One Direction.
Yeah.
I remember One Direction.
Beatles, Beyonce. Yeah. So yeah, well, lots of crazy things like that. And then this one came up, which was essentially there was a piano in Liverpool Street Station, and they were advertising the third season of The Piano or something. And so for every half hour or every hour, a new artist would come on and play the piano, and most of them, or a lot of them, were so far artists. And then I think like Sam Ryder was there as well or something. But we were told about this, but we'd already booked a gig on that night, so we played a gig, and then our slot was at like 2 a.m. or something. I
Oh,
can't
wow.
remember.
No, it was
Blimey.
it. No, it was like 11. Wasn't it half 11?
Maybe midnight.
Midnight.
Yeah.
Felt like 2 a.m.
Felt
clearly.
like 2 a.m.
Felt like doing.
So yeah, we went along to Liverpool Street and just played on the little upper concourse bit to some passers-by, and that was really nice. And some people were I think it was a Friday night, so they were pretty happy.
Oh my
Yes.
god, I got the best. I've got the best compliment of my entire professional career as a musician, which was I was going to go to Mackey's, but I heard your music, and even though Mackey's was about to close, I decided to stay and listen to you instead of go to
wow.
Mackey's. And this person was happy.
Yeah.
So
They were very happy.
the sacrifice was big
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, that is big. Yeah.
It's a huge
And there was also some Turkish people passing by, and then they came by and said hello, because I think they weren't expecting to hear a Turkish song being sung at Liverpool Street Station. But I thought it was such a surreal experience. I actually think that's probably one of my favorite gigs that we've done, just from like a feeling perspective, like to hear the echo in the station. And it's just so, there's something really special about it, actually. Yeah.
Nice. Is there footage somewhere on the internet that we can watch of that? Or is it just you had to be there?
There was a live stream because all of our families watched and then sent us photos of ourselves. But then it disappeared. So I don't know. Maybe it will be released one day.
Fair enough. No, that does sound lovely. And then kind of looking forward to next year. Have you got any gigs on the horizon, or you'll see what happens?
Well, we're currently planning the London concert for the Harvest release, and we're kind of in discussions with some kind of booking agents, and we're trying to see if we can actually do this as an industry showcase as well, because we want to use this as an opportunity to find hopefully management and a publisher, and to invite some music supervisors to be able to pursue sync opportunities. So the date is yet to be confirmed, but it is being planned as we speak. And then we're also currently scoring for my new film that's coming out, which is funded by the BFI. And we've been recording that in my room on this microphone you see right behind me. And so that will also be coming out next year, which will be exciting. And I was actually thinking about this today. I haven't told this to Soph, but I was thinking it might be nice to release that as well. It's just like short instrumental pieces to have it as the film soundtrack. Even though it's not the best quality in the world, I think it's quite nice to keep the instrumental stuff on record as well. So yeah, we'll hopefully be performing some of those. And we've been doing the same thing that we did with the Harvest for that. So that's what we performed at Fujifilm earlier this year, which is we took the instrumental pieces we wrote for both my last film and this film, but they're sort of around the same region and same area, which is post-earthquake Southeast Turkey. And we took, again, characters and stories from the film and wrote lyrical pieces. So I'm hoping that next year, once the Harvest is really in a good place, we'll start doing some demos of those new vocal pieces and hopefully get that out into the world as well.
Nice. Oh, that's going to be an exciting 2026. And then I suppose what's the theme for your new film, if you're able to say? Or is it top secret at this point?
It's about an indigenous olive harvesting community in the southeast part of Turkey. And it's about a mother who now has become an unwilling activist in the face of the movement, trying to protect their land from being seized by authorities. And the film is set in their final harvest as a family before their land is about to be destroyed. And throughout the process of seeing their last harvest, you flash back to the past and see the buildup of their resistance and the kind of fight to protect their land. So the music writing process has been interesting, and I know Soph's done a lot of work in kind of listening to music from that region and trying to adapt to the scales, and because it's a very musical part of Turkey, and because it has a lot of Arab influences, because the community speak Arabic, it's been quite an interesting process of trying to honor the music of the region as well, because obviously we're writing from London. Like, I'm Turkish, but I'm not from there, so we're trying to really learn the scales and all that stuff. And I think, Soph, you've definitely been the one that's done the most homework.
I guess Sheida sent us a playlist that her main character Miriam, so that was a playlist that she made, so songs that she listens to. A lot of them are Arabic kind of songs, a lot from the 70s kind of, but it was such a new like set of scales to try out on the violin, and just like because they have like half tones, so they have like maqam, which is like their modes, and then they have half tones, so it's like between a flat and a natural. My music theory is not that good, but it means like your fingers don't fall there naturally. So it was really fun to play around with that. And we also, Fran, our percussionist, played darbuka, which is a Turkish drum, but is also used across the region. So incorporating more of those kind of sounds has been like really different to what we've been doing before. So really interesting.
Yeah, and we've been writing in Turkish a lot more as well recently, which has been quite interesting. No, it's been a fun challenge for sure.
Yeah, no, it really sounds it. And I suppose, well, sometimes the challenge of making new music is literally that. But I suppose when you've got quite a specific brief of, we kind of need to explore these sounds and these instruments, while it, sounds very difficult, it can help you hone down on that sound as well.
Yeah, really. I think we had this discussion as a group before, like how actually it's really nice to work to a project, and by putting that kind of boundary around it, you really think is exactly as you say, like creating like limitations actually really helps you when you could really create anything.
I think whether you're, making classical inspired folk music or kind of you're a normal rock band, I think sometimes, being clear about what you want to make can be really helpful, because otherwise it's just too broad, isn't it? I think when you're going into it for the first time. Lovely. All right, well, let's hear another track from The Harvest. So this one is Morning Way, and here's a little snippet.
Come morning rays, are you watching my mother's way? Down the river lane, they speak of her in her beauty, preaching all that's lost.
Let's go back to the start a little bit, before all of this was created. So kind of who are some of the artists that maybe inspired you to pick up your own instruments, and maybe some of kind of your favorite artists that kind of just inspire you to make music at the moment?
For me, it's a very kind of, I feel like my musical taste evolved through so many different things, but my love for music really started with musical theatre and opera. And I kind of always loved this kind of big orchestral music and these kind of ballads that were very intense and kind of really made you feel something. And I think a part of that is also my kind of Turkish Iranian upbringing, because if you ever listen to Turkish music, it's like every song is who's died, you know, it's just so much emotion in every piece. And I think that really influenced me. But when I realized that I wasn't quite the stage performer, and I don't think musical theatre really was my thing, I started seeking for artists that had similar kind of tastes as me. And one of the first people I came across was actually Agnes Obel, whose concert I was mentioning previously. And she has these classical influences and has this kind of operatic tone to her voice, but she uses synthesizers. She experiments with modern musical techniques like loops and all these delays and verbs and these kind of new sounds that I hadn't heard before that I found so exciting. And then I also got really into the kind of Portishead, Morcheeba, Hooverphonic, like the kind of more trip hop influences. I had a massive attack era where I was just like loving the kind of more beats, again, electronic driven stuff, but that again like really honored the use of strings and like those classical influences. And I think today I definitely have like now evolved into but more so than before, I've started listening to more composers and instrumental pieces like Max Richter and Hani Arani and Olafur Arnalds. But again, all of these composers that write classical music, but always with a twist. They're always using different techniques. And so I guess I find that really interesting, artists that take those kind of orchestral, very classical arrangements, but that try different things with it and add vocals and delay and work with it. But Ryex and Patrick Watson as well are the two of my other top artists, but I could keep going. But I'd say at the moment, the one that I'm inspired by the most is actually probably none of the ones I've mentioned, but there's a woman called Karsu who is from the southeast part of Turkey, and she lives in the Netherlands, and she writes Turkish style music, but by blending more kind of Western influences, and she always performs with massive orchestras. And I guess because I've been thinking about writing in that region, I've definitely been inspired by her the most, and I would recommend listening to her music.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, lots of good recommendations in there to dive into.
I have a playlist. I can just share the link to that.
Oh, yes, please. And we, in theory, will put that link in the podcast description. So there you go.
Nice.
What about you, Sophie?
I feel like it's such a nice question to be asked what music you like.
Yeah.
And you ask people that like music and they could talk for hours about what music they like. So a bit hard one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely all have different tastes in the group. So like Shirley likes this kind of music, and I do as well, but I definitely wouldn't listen to it actually much on a daily basis, despite making that kind of music. I really like female vocal harmonies, so I'm like really like the Staves, a lot of like sad girl indie, like Phoebe Bridges, Holly Humberstone, this kind of thing. And then yeah, like more like folky stuff. Like I've really found some interesting Scandinavian folk groups that just like obviously use a violin in such a fun and exciting way. And I think maybe that was what really excited me about playing violin a bit later on in my violin playing journey, because like I really enjoyed playing in orchestras and being in choirs and stuff, but just kind of putting it and collaborating with other people in a fun way has so things like that. And I just love like a cappella kind of things.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, it's a big question, as you say. You know.
But I think what's really interesting about working with Soph is, well, a lot of people don't know this, but she's an amazing guitarist as well. Over lockdown, she managed to learn the guitar and then started sending us these amazing songs on the guitar. But Murmurations is one of the songs that Soph wrote and we recorded. And I think it's I think what Soph and Emmy as well bring to the table often is like this kind of slightly more like different perspective, which I think I tend to like kind of want to write maybe a bit more like dark and moody things that are a bit more like not the everyday listening. But then Soph and Emmy will often like write lines and bring melodies that actually really resonate with a lot of people. And they're like the type of stuff that you'd want to listen to on loop. And I think Murmurations is definitely one of those songs where whoever listens to it just like wants to listen to it 10 more times because it has this kind of really like heart-warming feeling to it. And I think that's why it's a good thing that I don't have the same music taste in those moments, because it means we get to do both.
And then we have Fran, who's on percussion, and she can play like she went on to a month to Cuba to learn like Cuban percussion. So we're like, bring more of that.
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing about being in a band, is that there's that push and pull between the individuals, and you end up, you know, you might come in with a song and then you think, oh, this is quite an upbeat, jolly acoustic song, and then suddenly it turns into something completely different just because of, you know, the other people in the room. So I think that's always fun. But this seems a good a time as any to play a bit of Murmurations, which came out in 2022. So here's a little snippet of that.
Murmurations of grief, murmurations of grief, murmurations of scent of the earth, musk brought by the rain, the flock leaves wonders, shaking heads.
Lovely. And then how did you guys actually form Entropies?
Great question. Well, it was a bit of a mixed story, because when I was gigging on my own, I really didn't like gigging on my own, and I really wanted to like play with people. That was like my number one goal at uni. And I actually remember asking Emmy way before we formed. I thought Emmy was really cool and I really wanted to play with a cellist, but at the time she was too cool for me. So she was like, oh, maybe, you know, well, I'll let you know when I have time, and then never heard back. That was it. And then Soph and I met at Rhapsody, which was actually a live show organized by UCL Live Music Society. Anyone at UCL who likes playing music, 100% go get involved, because that's how we all managed to do music throughout uni. And Soph and I were playing one of the same songs, so they'd kind of form groups and assign, you know, musical directors and then violinists and different people who would play. And that's how we met with Soph. So if I might be skipping a thing here, but then fast forward, my flatmates threw me a birthday party and they invited Soph. And then Soph told me that she was working at these festivals where she'd do bar shifts. And at the time I was looking for, you know, a job. So I was like, okay, I'll do that with you. So we do it. And then throughout the course of doing that, we saw the Staves, we saw Leanne Havas, we saw all of these amazing acts while working behind the bar. And
I got a hug from Leanne.
you got a hug from Leanne. That was, yeah, I didn't. You did. But we'd be behind the bar and we'd be like, we want to do it. We want to be on that stage. And then Soph was like, why don't we do it then? And then I think, Soph, you messaged Emmy, or coincidentally, Emmy messaged me that day being like, I now have time. And I was like, great. Soph and I were going to jam this Saturday. Why don't you join? It was meant to be. And then we were on a train to the Railway at Winchester, which is another amazing venue for independent artists. And played to an audience of about 6 people, which was my family and grandma. And that was our first gig. And then Fran, our percussionist, I met her through Jazz Society I used to play with at uni, which was a more broader society across different universities. And Fran is the only one who was actually studying music. So she was at Royal Academy of Music studying percussion. And she's one of the people, she's so dedicated to her work that whenever someone's like, I'm looking for a percussionist, she will be there, and she wants to try everything and do everything. And I find Fran very impressive for that. And as soon as I mentioned Entropies, she was like, well, if you guys ever need a percussionist, and then she came to one of our gigs, and then shortly after that, she came to a rehearsal room, and then that was it. I had to do another band photo shoot to get her in.
Fran has a great story where she was applying. Florence played at the Royal Albert Hall last year. Maybe you saw that. And she was applying for tickets, like on the ballot, so she could get on the ballot. I think no one got tickets. I think the 3 of you were applying. No one got a ticket. It was too many people. And then it turns out she actually got asked to play. So she played at the Florence of the Machine Prom. So she's playing percussion in the back. It's amazing. Yeah. But yeah, UCL was an amazing place because it doesn't actually have a music course or musical theatre course. Everyone in the music society or musical societies really just wanted to do it outside of their degree. And we met Charlie, who produced Murmurations and recorded it. So he was doing, English, I think. So yeah, but he was so involved in the live music society. So we're really fortunate.
He was the president at the time. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, another, an amazing engineer and a great friend. Charlie really helped us out. He recorded our first ever single. So I think any artist will relate to that feeling of when you first go into the studio and you don't know how anything works and it's scary. And you're kind of in this room and in front of a microphone. And I do think that the person who's recording and they're kind of coaching you, that they're really trying to make you feel as comfortable as possible. And I remember being so struck by Charlie's professionalism and also just ability to make us feel really comfortable.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a skill in itself as a producer, because obviously you can do all the technical stuff, but it is quite a personal thing, when someone's singing or playing in front of you. So yeah, make them feel at home, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been very lucky with that. Ari has also been absolutely amazing, and throughout the recording of The Harvest, very patient and very, very, very dedicated to making everything sound as perfect as it could be.
No,
it's really nice to work with someone who wants to develop it as much as you do as well. So yeah, very lucky.
Yeah, and I've been struck, especially when looking at your socials, kind of, as well as the music being really cohesive. There seems to be quite a cohesive nature to the visuals as well, and obviously part of that kind of comes from your documentary making, I'm sure. But yeah, have you had that in mind when you've kind of approached marketing and kind of building your audience?
Yeah, well, actually, we could share with you a screenshot of Amelia, our cellist, putting together a PowerPoint on how to prepare for our photo shoots. So there's been a lot of, a rigorous work that's gone into, I think we've really struggled with that. I mean, personally, I find like the marketing side the least enjoyable side, because I think it really is a lot of admin work. And whenever I have free time, I kind of would just rather sit on the piano. But we've tried to, I think now with the documentary visuals being more connected to the music we're doing, we know we have those as a starting point. And then we were like, okay, let's take the camera into the studio, record as much behind the scenes footage as we can. And then let's also do a photo shoot. So we just have these photos that we can scatter. So Soph was recording and filming in the studio. We were all kind of filming each other. And then Emmy put together this amazing kind of vision board for the photo shoot that would sort of complement the visuals of the of the documentary, and I think that was so helpful because now whenever we haven't posted something in a few days, we just go into that album and be like, okay, let's just post this and announce the next concert, and it's great. But I think any independent artist will know the struggle of upkeeping your socials. It's just so much work.
And the photographer was Alan, which is Amelia's flatmate, and we are so grateful to her for just being such a good egg and taking photos of us.
So DIY. Yeah, it was very DIY'd. Yeah.
And well, on the theme of marketing, I saw you've got some new merchandise which will be available at the upcoming gigs, and it's a couple of, I mean, it's a good cap, it's a good beanie. I love a good cap, so I think yeah, it looks very stylish, which I think is important when you're buying merch. So
yeah, Soph has put in a lot of work into that. That was all Soph, baby.
I did my diligence and got 3 different quotes from different suppliers.
oh yeah,
I made them compete with each other for their pricings.
well, yeah. Might as well.
I never imagined I would be doing this because of music, but here I am.
Yeah.
This.
There's a whole world
And
around it.
the cap has Git Mekal on it, which maybe Sheida, you want to explain.
Yeah, so one of the songs in the EP, one of the transition pieces, I actually, yes, I'm glad we brought this up because it's a song that says in Turkish, it means don't leave, stay, which is Gitme Kal. And you'll hear Soph in the back singing in Japanese. And you're saying don't go, stay as well, Soph?
I'm just saying don't go.
Don't go. And so we decided to use those words because we thought it'd be special to have something Turkish and meaningful to the EP on the merch.
Yeah. Oh no, that's a really nice touch. I love that. Lovely. Well, I mean, thank you so much for your time. We've got a couple more questions. I suppose one of them is fairly broad. So apologies for that. But we ask everyone, because a lot of people who listen to this are kind of musicians themselves. So if there's kind of one piece of advice you'd give to another emerging artist, yeah, what would that be? So I know it's a big one.
See, I was thinking this recently because of the amount of admin work that's gone into the EP. I think it's very easy to get caught up in thinking about, how many people you're going to reach, who your audience is, how can I market this the best way possible so it reaches so many people. And I think those are all really important things, but I think with independent artists, it's that there needs to be a line that you draw where you're like, this is all that I can do, but actually I'm doing this because I want to perform and I want to make music. And I think definitely don't underestimate just the small gigs or like any opportunity to play, because I think the more you're out there and play, the more audience you're going to find, but also you're going to find your style and what you want to do and how you want to play music. So I guess this is advice for us as well as other people, but just play as much as you can. Music's all about that, being on stage and like looking at each other and kind of feeling that energy. And if you feel like all of the admin is becoming a lot, then just take a step back and accept that you'll come back to that later, but make sure you make it to the next gig. I think that's what the focus should be, and then the rest will come.
I think I would say, this is possibly difficult if you're a solo artist, but I feel so grateful to have done it with Fran, Sheida and Amelia, because we all, even the admin, we're all doing different bits of it. And I think that eases the load, but also, yeah, it's such a nice thing to be able to make music together, and you think in ways that you wouldn't have come up with that. So finding opportunities to do stuff like that is maybe what I would say.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I completely agree. Reach out to people, message the cool cellist who doesn't want to speak to you like I did. And then
she's
one day they'll
lovely.
decide they want to speak to you. I think she's lovely. No, Emmy is lovely. But she was very busy at the time. She's an amazing arranger as well. So she was arranging for lots of people at the time. But I think, yeah, just what Soph said about reaching out to people. And if you want to make music with people, I think anyone loves being reached out to play music together. I think if you get that message, it'll just make your day. So
yeah, definitely. And I think, as you've alluded to, it is about, you build that community, but you make connections, and then it might happen that one of your connections is a great producer and another one is, an arranger. And I think, yeah, and that all probably stems from getting out there, playing gigs, kind of meeting people at those, and then yeah, building your community from there. So no, lovely advice. And then finally, we ask all our guests to recommend a song that they've been enjoying by an artist we perhaps have not heard of. So yeah, have you got one that you'd like to recommend?
I'll start. Maybe you already know this person, but I'm going to recommend Rattling Chains by Laura Resnick. Who do you know? Do you know her?
Yes. Yeah, I think, she's been on the Substack, I believe. I'm drawing a blank now, but I'm pretty sure we've interviewed her, or at least covered one of her songs. Yeah.
Ah, great. Yeah, I thought so, maybe. But yeah, I feel sometimes there's just people that really like click in your ears, like the sound is just the way you like it. And for me, like, for example, the Staves is someone like that. I can listen to anything they produce and I just like it. And Laura Resnick is the same. Like, I listen to everything in her discography and I'm so happy to listen to it. And I think she, this is the perfect example of what we were just talking about, because I started as a fan of hers and we were very lucky to be actually asked to play support at her gig, and then we played with her. And so that was like such a special moment, because I had been a fan for a few years before that. And yeah, I'm still like fangirling, even though we're like now friends. So yeah.
Take such risks like these, following all of your friends. You're shaking the windows again, like a rattling chain in my head. Do as I said, over and over again.
For me, I was like thinking, I was like, are these people independent or not? Because I feel like I always listen to people that are like on the cusp of they could be signed, but I'm not sure. But I was thinking of sisters called the Ayub Sisters that Soph and I discovered when we were in Glastonbury last year. And we were really excited because we saw like a cello and a violin, and we were like, okay, great. We need to go and kind of listen to them. And they've released an album called Arabesque, which is all inspired by, they're Egyptian, so it's kind of inspired by the music that they grew up with and that were kind of very popular in the region, but with their interpretation and with their twist of kind of making it feel more epic and more kind of Western orchestral influences. So definitely recommend if you like that genre of, cross kind of more arabesque Middle Eastern, but with more filmic kind of influences.
Lovely. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. Important information to know. So your debut EP, The Harvest, is out now in all the usual places, and also watch out for some London gigs on the horizon. Anything else you want to plug or let people know?
No, I think that's everything. I think maybe also just the film's music that will be coming out in the film, which will be called Here to Stay, the BFI doc. But yeah, otherwise, the Harvest release concert in London will be our next sort of big push.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, best of luck with the EP and all the gigs.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much again to Entropies. That was a lovely chat. But let's end this edition of the podcast with some music recommendations. So for those who don't know, every week we share our 5 fresh tracks on the New Sounds Union Substack, which is newsoundsunion.substack.com. And you can subscribe for free, I hasten to add. So here are a couple of tracks that we've picked from the vault. First up is the excellently named Half Naked Houseplants with their single Power Cuts. So this is the brilliant third single from the Brighton 4-piece and showcases their unique, inventive nature with off-kilter lyrics and a fluid song structure. Here it is.
She can help you to connect you to the pathways of delight. She can bend the truth with flashing lights. She'll shut you down.
Next is Slump Culture and their single Through the Looking Glass. This is a really, really beautiful number with kind of hypnotic acoustic guitars blending with shuffling beats and layered vocals, and it's perfect for this time of year. Here it is.
In my mind, I'm traveling back to my place of birth. I've been making my way over.
So remember to head over to newsoundsunion.substack.com and subscribe for more music recommendations. Thank you so much for listening to New Sounds Union. If you'd like to get in touch, drop us an email at newsoundsunion@gmail.com or find us via the New Sounds Union Substack. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review if you're feeling really, really kind. This has been a Glow Bureau production. We will see you next time.